We did it. It's been about a week since Ultraman Florida took place, and I thought I would do a little recap, tell you how the race went. Short version, it was incredible. The crew was perfect, the environment was perfect, the weather was perfect. Everything was just, it was a truly memorable experience. Let's talk about it. Ultraman is a 3-day race, but the event is really a week long. You have to do the bike inspection, you've got your check-in on Wednesday, you've got a pre-race brunch on Thursday, and then the race itself, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday you have the awards banquet. My crew for the race was my wife, Romy, my sister, Emily, and my friend, Ken. My wife has done an ultra marathon. She's an accomplished athlete. My sister's done a few half marathons. My sister was actually my crew chief. She would handle all the logistics of the race. And Ken is a very accomplished Ironman athlete. He was there to help if there was any bike issues, help with nutrition, and just to provide some insight as someone who has done long event races before. The day before the race, we had the pre-race brunch. They talk about each individual athlete, where they're from, what country they represent, what they've done. I think there was 17 countries represented this year at Ultraman Florida, so that was great to see a really diverse field of athletes from all around the world. Friday morning, woke up, I had an everything bagel with peanut butter and a banana on it, and I had a bowl of oatmeal from Picky Bars. I had that about 2 hours before I would start racing. We drove to the race site and got ready to swim. The water, unfortunately, was a little bit cold. I think the water temperature on race day was mid-50s. We had to bundle up a little bit. We had booties, we had neoprene gloves. A lot of us wore a neoprene cap. The race started at exactly 7 a.m. and the first thing we had to do was go out and find our actual kayaker. My sister served as my kayaker, and she did a great job. I found her really quick, and she let me know every 20 minutes that it was time to drink. She would throw me my bottle, have a little sip, toss it back. Now, leading up to the race, I did not swim as much as I probably should have. My longest swim in training was 5 kilometers. And the race itself was, of course, 10 kilometers or 6.2 miles. So it was double the length of the longest swim I'd ever done. So I was a little bit nervous about how it was going to be on race day. The first couple kilometers went pretty smooth, and then I actually started feeling really good around 3 or 4 kilometers into the race. Felt pretty good until about kilometer 7.5 or 8. That last 2 kilometers really kicked my butt. I don't know if it was the cold starting to numb up my body a little bit. Anytime I would stop to drink, I felt like I was gonna throw up. My shoulders were on fire, and I felt like I wasn't getting any power from my stroke at all. And at that point, I started getting a little angry with my sister because I looked up and I saw some kayakers and a swimmer way to my left. I saw another one way to my right, and I'm looking up and I didn't see any buoys, so I'm asking my sister, where the hell are we? Where are you taking me? And she just kept telling me, trust me, trust me. And looking back later at the GPS track that she had me on, she actually did a really, really good job. And I'm glad she didn't just follow the other kayakers, because she would have had me swimming a little bit extra yardage. My official swim time was 3 hours and 53 minutes. Overall, I'm not too unhappy with it, with the lack of preparation I did. It would have been nice to be under 3:30, that extra half an hour would have been nice. Now, when I finished swimming, it took me a little while to get my legs underneath me. I tried standing up when I got near the shore, and as you can see, it did not work out very well.
All right, fellas, stand up. There you go. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Listen, Jeff, come on, Phil. You got this. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy.
After a couple of face plants, I was able to get up, get onto the beach, run up into the changing area, strip my wetsuit off, got my bike kit on. While I was doing that, Ken got my bike, got it ready to the start line, and we were on the road. As I said earlier, the swim really, really kicked my butt, and I felt it on that first day of biking. My bike time for that first day ended up being 5 hours and 13 minutes, but my actual moving time was closer to 4.5 hours, which means I spent about 40 minutes or so off of the bike or stopped. Some of that, of course, because the rules of the road, you have to obey the rules of the road. You stop at any stop signs, you will stop for any red lights, just like you would if you were a vehicle. But a lot of that was also stopped on the side of the road with my crew. I had to pull over a couple times because I was cramping really bad. Obviously, when you're cramping really bad on the first day of a 3-day race, you're gonna be concerned about how the rest of the race is gonna go. Finished the day, as I said, 5:13, which brought my day one total a little over 9 hours. I was hoping to stay under 9 hours. After that swim, I'm really not too unhappy with it. So that concluded day one. I had a recovery shake from Tailwind. I had one of those mixed up and drank it immediately after I got off the bike. Thanks Ken for having those ready for me. We loaded up the gear, drove to Chipotle, got a big fat burrito, got as much sleep as I could to get ready for the next day. I woke up on Saturday, had the same thing for breakfast, had my oatmeal, my bagel, peanut butter, banana, and got ready for a long bike ride. 171-mile bike ride for day two would be the longest single ride I'd ever done in my life. I was able to come down in December to do the training camp. During that training camp, we rode 120 miles of the course. Doing that pre-ride helped me get a feel of when to push and when to take it easy on the course. I was a little concerned from the cramps I had the day before, and I was still feeling a little bit in my right leg, but it never really became a problem, which is good. We all start together on day two. All the riders, they start in the order that they finished on day one. My plan for day two was to stay as comfortable as I could for as long as I could. I wanted to get to mile 100 and feel like I hadn't done anything yet. So I did not make the extra effort to bridge up to anybody. I was doing my own race, and I think it really paid off. The weather was a little cool, but it felt great. It was really a beautiful day for a ride. And the course itself, the bike course for day two is, for the most part, absolutely beautiful. You think Central Florida is just flat and busy, but most of this course is out on rural country roads, rolling hills. Yep, there's hills in Florida. My crew was really surprised actually of what Central Florida looked like. As the ride went on, I felt pretty good. I started feeling better and better actually as the day progressed. My nutrition was to have a bottle every hour and also eat a picky bar almost every hour. On top of that, I would take a salt tab just about every hour or hour and 20 minutes or so to make sure I wasn't losing too much salt. In my bottles, I had my crew put 2.5 scoops of Tailwind, which gave me a little over 200 calories. It was magic for me. I never ran out of energy the entire day. To be completely honest, day two was one of the best bike rides I've had in my entire life. My crew, they absolutely crushed it all day. They were always there when I needed them, always had stuff ready for me. They were absolutely perfect. Couldn't ask for a better crew. Once we got further into the ride, got to mile 100, and I really did feel like I had barely ridden my bike yet. My goal for the day was to keep consistent pacing. I wanted to keep a consistent effort throughout the day, and I think we really accomplished that. As the day went on, I was able to move up a little bit in the field, and I finished the day with the 6th fastest bike split. I ended up riding day two in 8 hours and 47 minutes, which ended up being almost exactly 20 miles per hour. I did not expect that, and I really think a lot of it is due to my crew keeping my nutrition and hydration on point, and also due to the pacing and never pushing too hard and digging myself in a hole that I couldn't get out of. At the end of day two, I had moved up to 10th place overall in the race and was actually feeling pretty good. Feeling much better than I did at the end of day one. We did the same thing at the end of that day that we did after the first day. Had my recovery shake, went and got a burrito, got in the recovery boots, and started resting. For both day one and day two, I was on my absolute dream bike, the Diamond Marquis. It's so comfortable, it's so fast. I was completely comfortable all day. And that's saying a lot for 14 hours of riding over 2 days. The third day of Ultraman is the double marathon. So you've got 52 miles of running. When it started that morning, it was raining, but it wasn't raining too hard. We got a little wet, but it didn't soak our feet or socks or anything. The rain let up pretty quick, but it actually stayed overcast and fairly cool for most of the day, which is perfect. 2 years ago when I was here to crew, it was in the 90s and there was no shade. It was super sunny. So we were extra fortunate this year for the weather on day 3. As we got further into the run, got to mile 8 and 9, you come up to the first section of clay road. It's a 4 mile-ish section. It takes you past the end of your first half marathon. We got there right at 2 hours and 1 minute. I had my sister run with me for a while through there. It was really special for me to share that time with her. The goal was to run at a pace that would keep me as close as possible to 9 hours. To be honest, I expected the run to end up probably closer to 10 hours. After the first 2 days, I didn't know what my legs would feel like after all that. As the miles wore on, got to the first marathon at 4 hours and 20 minutes. After the first marathon, you get to mile 30, and that's where you enter the clay road. I got to do some more miles on clay road with my wife. It was awesome to run with her. As we got further on clay road, the heat picked up a little bit, and you could see some people were starting to suffer. The course out there is not flat at all. Just rolling up and down the whole way. And there are some out and backs out there, so it was nice to see the other athletes. All weekend, it's always great to see the other athletes. Nobody out there wants anybody else to fail. It's all one big family. Everyone is cheering each other on. All the crews are cheering for each other. It's one of the things that makes this event so special. After you get out of clay road, you've got about another half a marathon to go to the finish. This is where you start to get into some of the busier roads and busier sections, so it's really important to pay attention to things because that's when some athletes start to really feel the effects of 3 days of effort. Mile 43, 44, had about 8 miles left to go, and I was really starting to suffer. My crew handed me a Red Bull, and then it started to rain and kind of cool off a little bit, and it helped out. I had been walking all the hills from the very beginning of the run to save my legs. And later on, I think that really paid off because even when I was really tired at the end of the race, those last 5 or 6 miles, I was able to keep running on the flats, downhills, and slight inclines, and then just walk when there was a significant uphill. Before I knew it, there was a mile to go, which at that point you know you're going to make it. The last mile, your crew goes ahead and then you have to run it in. And then your crew meets you and all of your crew runs with you across the finish line as one big team because you cannot do this race on your own. The crew is such an important part of it, and I'm so grateful for everything they did for me this week. Crossed the finish line on day 3 at 8 hours and 48 minutes. And when you combine all 3 days together, that had me under 27 hours. My total time for the 3 days was 26 hours and 44 minutes, which ended up at 10th place overall for the race. Going into the race, I actually didn't know what to expect. I thought I would probably be closer to 30 hours. So to go 26:44 just blows my mind. First day especially was so hard, really went to some dark places. But day 2 and 3, the consistency, the help from the crew, the energy from all the other athletes and all the other crews, it really made for a special event. And I'm so grateful that I was able to be a part of it this year. I would like to thank the Ultraman Florida crew, the race directors, Jen McVeigh, Chuck, all the volunteers, all the other crews, all the other athletes, the Ohana who'd been there years before. I would like to thank Jonas Johnson and Morgan Lattimore for introducing me to this race, and Jonas bringing me down to be on his crew 2 years ago. Check out his race recap down below from when I crewed for him. Being here for that made me fall in love with this race, and I knew I had to do it myself. I will end by saying something that I mentioned during the athlete speeches. Day 4, on the Monday after the race, all the athletes get 3 minutes to speak to the other athletes and crew about your experience. And I mentioned it then that there's been a lot of finish lines that I've crossed, various races, challenges, different things. And there was something about crossing this finish line that it really did it for me. There's not a lot of races like this. There's not a lot of races and experiences and events that bring so many people together. And I look forward to being part of the Ultraman family in the future. And who knows, Maybe one day I'll swim a little bit more and try to do another one. Thanks for watching.